Thanks a lot, Lloyd. Now to the recent storm and how officials are reacting in the aftermath. Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, is thanking officials of National Emergency Management Agency, or NEMA, and the many government departments and agencies focused on hurricane preparedness, as well as Bahamians and residents for their readiness ahead of the storm. Just hours after the all-clear was given, Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, led a contingent of officials on an aerial tour of the northern Bahamas. He was relieved that the storm turned out to be less destructive than all had prepared for.
We flew over Andros, Bimini, and the Berry Islands. The weather did not permit us flying over Grand Bahama. From the air, there did not appear to be much physical damage to structures. In northern Andros, there were only 2 blue taprons visible on homes. NEMA and the Ministry of Works will continue their assessment and provide the appropriate responses to any need or damage that exists on the ground. We must remain vigilant and on alert for the remainder of the hurricane season, during which we are also battling this pandemic.
On the operations of Hutchins & Bahamas and its services, the company announced that it had reopened for business following the storm and is following the COVID-19 guidelines. Meantime, officials on that island are providing an update on Grand Bahama following the storm. Here's Ramiko Knowles.
The Minister of State for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Kwesi Thompson, says that the island of Grand Bahama managed quite well, but there were several pockets of damage in Freeport and the eastern area of Grand Bahama.
The actual storm skirted to the west of us. Unfortunately, most of the wind and the rain was on the eastern side, and that meant that Grand Bahama experienced quite a bit of rain and quite a bit of wind. We are also getting reports that there was no major damage to the airport, there was no major damage to the harbor, and also that the Fishing Hole Road Causeway stood up quite well and remained open during the entire storm.
Now, it was also reported that no major damage incurred to the island's healthcare facility, as well as the Cancer Association. Both the Minister of State for Grand Bahama and the Minister for Disaster Preparedness Management and Reconstruction, the Honorable Iram Lewis, took a tour of the hospital and say that plans for the phased reopening are still on schedule.
Based on current projections, and progress being made, we still during the month of September, we still expect that to happen. And one of the things that we want to stress is that we're doing phase opening. Critical areas, emphasis being placed on those, the lobby area, the concierge area, the pharmacy, the pediatric wards, the male-female wards, the surgical, the operating theater, COVID-19 section, the temporary operating room. We expect that by the first part of September, some of those areas will be open.
One of the things we wanted to note was we wanted to make the transition into the new COVID unit. Obviously, given the situation that the island is facing, and given that we are going to be facing this situation, I believe, for the foreseeable future, we wanted to make sure that we have the necessary COVID beds, and we now have a separate COVID unit that has all of the necessities for a COVID unit, and that would take some pressure off of the Cancer Association.
Emmanuel Way in High Rock is one of the areas assessed by the Disaster Reconstruction Authority and the Ministry of Works. The road was rendered impassable after Hurricane Dorian and was patched to allow movement of vehicles, but the tropical storm has caused damage to the roadway once again. Minister Lewis says funds are being allocated to construct a seawall in the area.
And this is going to be more than just a seawall. It's more like a defense mechanism for the community of High Rock. And now more than ever, based on conditions from just the tropical storm alone, we can see that the level of damage, the road is a complete washover. It's impassable. It speaks more than ever to the urgency of such an undertaking taking place as soon as possible.
Now that we are in the clear, Minister Lewis reminds all that we are still in the fight against COVID-19 and measures to mitigate the spread are still in effect. Ramiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.